Is this actually a classic tune? I'm not sure. I have not been paying attention. Kind of obviously waiting for people to join. Oh yeah, so it is. Yeah, I saw people going pretty nuts on the upload I found of this, being like, "Oh man, LED storm! Is it LED storm? Is it like LED like light emitting diode? I have to assume, given the era and everything." And this is actually, if you can believe it, this is not Sid. This is ZX Spectrum music. This is ostensibly mastered for the what's it called? You know, the AY chip that's on the 128 and up. I'm waiting for a few people to join, of course, before I get going here. I don't. You probably didn't look at the description for the video, but I hurt my neck. I'm not exactly sure what happened. If I'm perfectly honest, I think I might have ruptured a disc, because I've been having like neuropathy problems for quite some time, like getting numb limbs and that sort of thing. The funny thing is, I'm not getting that right now, but just for the last 4 days, I've barely been able to move without excruciating pain. Like if I tilt my head this way, I can get about that far. But if I try to go back, can't get much further than that, and then it just starts to really hurt. And this is actually, I'm doing great right now. Earlier today, like circa about 10 o'clock, I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. So I've got some really cool stuff back here that I'd love to make a video about, but I just physically can't. Like, yeah, it's been a wild month. You know, like I was doing so great in January or February. Oof, gosh, no, I did mean January. Oh man, I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Sunday. I was doing great as far as the channel and personally in a lot of ways, not so much in other ways. And then I went on this trip, this godforsaken trip I'm going to be thinking about for decades. And I got back, and first I've got just reeling from the trip, and the fact that I was out for 2 weeks, period, 2.5 weeks, whatever, while I was doing the trip. And then I get back, and the project I was working on, as I said in the last patron-only video I released, the project I was working on, I didn't want to go back to. Like, I was trying to do a video about a topic that I do find interesting, but gosh, the whole thing was just, it was just sapping my will to live, and I'm not exactly sure why. It just, well, it's, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of a creative crisis, right? Like, you have this idea in your head that you're gonna do something, and it's gonna sound and feel a particular way, and then you go do it, and that is not the way it feels. You do it, and it's not what you were looking for. And I've had a lot of experience with that sort of thing, and let me tell you, it never gets any easier. Trying to get myself to do something when it doesn't feel right. And so yeah, I was beating my head against this before I left. I had actually hoped to have several videos queued up and getting released while I was gone. I didn't really think I was going to pull it off, but I was really trying. And then I tried to do this last video that was about facts, actually. And it was so frustrating that I just got back. I'm like, I do not want to do this. CRD is short for my YouTube title, friend. Cathode Ray Dude. I didn't start using that abbreviation. Other people did in my comments. Anyway, so so somebody sent me this piece of equipment here, and I was like, I actually started getting enthused again about making a video once I started messing with this thing, and then the neck pain started hitting me really hard, and I can't do it. I shot a mail call video for this thing, and just that was agonizing. So yeah, it was rough. And so yeah, now I'm at the point where I'm like, I would really like to make a video, not just for your sake, but for my sake, but I can't do it because I'm just in too much pain to stand up and perform. So anyway, I want to be in more pain than that apparently, so I've decided to try the ZX Spectrum emulation. So in all honesty, though, on topic here, I've been talking a really hard game against the ZX Spectrum for years. Now this comes from the fact that British game developers have an uncanny ability to make extremely unentertaining games. I cite the Dizzy series as an example. All of like every game platform got every single one of the 150,000 games released of the Dizzy series, and you couldn't pay me money to play those. They're infuriating and they're not fun. And the control schemes for oh no, that's a problem. Oh well. The control schemes for this stuff are turbo janky. Not just because of the limitations of the system. I mean, those were pretty harsh, but I still think they could have done better. Figuring out how to play the games is hard, and then once you do, the controls are clunky, collision is all broken. It just goes on and on and on. There's so many problems with the platform, and then on top of that, you load up game after game after game after game, and you just keep hitting like text adventures and stuff like that. That's not, to me, not a whole lot of fun. Great stuff, I'm sure, but just not for me. Well, so I know this. The platform has like the platform has like 1,000 games. I mean, I've got my ROM collection here, and this folder has 14,000 tape images in it, right? So I don't know how many actual unique titles that is, but there's a lot of software for this platform. It can't all be bad. So every time I go to try and throw myself at this problem, let's play some ZX Spectrum games, ZX Spectrum games. Let's get in there and do a stream where we just go through them and see what's what. What I'll do is I'll do some pre-gaming where I sit down, I start loading up ROMs and like trying to get them, just find a few games that are interesting. And like an hour later, I'm sitting at my desk completely dejected because I can't get them to work. I can't get them to load. I can't get them to load reliably. I can't figure out the controls. That's a minor one. It's mostly the other ones. Or like I finally get in there and the damn joystick won't work. I kept having this problem over and over and over. So I finally beat my head against it for the last 2 days long enough to figure out the answers to several of these questions. And then, much to my surprise, I started going through games and I found a chunk of games that were interesting. So now I'm actually ready to run a stream here, play some games for a bit. Probably only be like an hour, hour and a half, something like that, but we'll see. Yeah, I just wanted to give you the context around why all of a sudden I'm streaming video games on my channel. Because yeah, it's just I don't know. I have nothing against video games, but there's a lot of video games on YouTube, right? I mean, there's only so much time in the day, and of all the things I could do, is this really the best use of it if I'm going to put my effort into making stuff? Because there's so many other people covering this. But streams are different. So anyway, now the best part is, while I was talking to you, my Xbox controller shut itself off, which is great because I'm using the Fuse emulator, and a consistent thing with all of the Spectrum emulators is that none of them are smart enough to recognize when you've connected a new joystick to the computer. So I'm betting they're going to have to actually restart the emulator here in order to get this to work. My experience with the ZX Spectrum just does not get better. Yeah. Let me see. Is this paused? No, it's not paused. Oh, you know what? Oh, good. It still recognizes the joystick. All right. So anyway, so this is Academy, which I've never heard of before, and Well, I've spent a lot of time in the home computer game library, and it's just I think that the British computers were lower quality. It just feels that way to me. I don't know. The Apple II had a lot of really good stuff, surprisingly good. But at the same time, you know what? I shouldn't even lean on that, because the truth of the matter is that I just filtered out a whole bunch of games that actually are interesting. Here's one. I've never heard of this game before, and it looks really ambitious. So, like, for instance, it starts out with this like remarkably PC-like game interface, something you'd expect to see from like a Dynamics game from like 1995. But this is a they had a whole bunch of like tank combat games back in the day for like every conceivable system. This is pretty much one of those. And so like this interface alone is really sophisticated for this platform. And you know what I've just noticed actually is I've just realized something down here. So this is where you pick your vehicle. Basically, you pick your tank. And down here at the bottom, there's an option that says Design New Skimmer. So I guess this thing is just going... This is just going completely just balls to the walls, 100% past anything I've ever seen for the Spectrum before, which is delightful. But anyway, let me just go ahead and start the game. I did not expect that to be that sophisticated. Oh, and then when you actually get into your tank, it's got a CLI. You can actually type commands. And I thought at first, like, oh god, is this going to be some sort of strategy game? But no, you hit launch, and there we go. It's a 3D action title. It's like a Spectre VR. Now, a fun thing about this, let me just ask real quick before we get too much further into this. Are my voice levels okay, and can you hear the music faintly in the background, or is it obtrusive? Or you're not hearing it at all? Let me know in the comments below. And for that matter, can you hear the little ticks from the game? Oh, okay, terrific. Joshua, I do not have the brain cycles to think about that right now. Sorry. If you leave a comment on the video in question, I might be able to answer you better. Okay, good. A problem that happens with game streams, particularly for the ZX Spectrum and some other like pretty early home computers. Actually, no, it's all the home computers. A lot of games don't have music. Like you get on YouTube, right? You look up like C64 2-hour SID compilation, and that's all well and good. Like that music, super cool. But you know what? A lot of the time, you don't hear that music while you're playing the game. That's something you hear while you're loading the game, or it's something you hear during the high score menu or something, because all the music has to be CPU driven. And so most of the time you can't actually hear music while you're playing the game. Yeah, this has a strong Battlezone vibe. So yeah, I think this thing is cool because it seems very ambitious. I always use that word, but it really is the word I mean. So let me get into this. So when the PC came out and started getting upgrades and started getting extra hardware, graphics boards, that sort of thing, people started making some games that it seemed like they'd wanted to make for a very long time, but nothing was available that would handle them anywhere at all, right? So, there's a bubble bobble for the ZX Spectrum. Oh wow. Anyway, a lot of people wanted to make games like this. People wanted to make tank simulators. They wanted to make plane simulators, space combat simulators, all sorts of stuff. And of course, there were limitations on the platform. It's really tough to make, for instance, a 3D simulator on the NES. The NES just has limitations, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about. So you'll notice, for instance, that when I accelerate and decelerate in this tank, you get this little rocking animation. That's the sort of thing that if you were playing an NES game, I'm not sure how to read that map down there is the thing. It's actually, I'm trying to get back to headquarters and I cannot figure out where it is. I might have just found it. I think that's headquarters right there. Well, that could be an enemy. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is my base. Can I just run into it? Oh no, mission failed. Anyway, so if you go back and play a lot of games for these platforms, you can sort of see that they wanted to make something a lot more sophisticated than what they were able to get out of the machine itself. But what's interesting to me is how often they're able to get the experience they wanted despite the limitations of the machine anyway. This machine is pretty limited. You know, this is a 48K Spectrum. The fact that they were able to get a reasonable facsimile of Battlezone out of it is pretty dope. The fact they're able to do that at all is very impressive. What's interesting about it, though, to me, is so this platform came out in 1982. The NES came out in 1983 in Japan and then didn't come out in the US until 85. In between those times, between 82 and 85 in the US, for instance, I don't remember when it came out in the EU, but I think somewhere in between those years. When the NES came out in other countries, we started getting games for it that were sort of heralded as masterpieces of animation and sound and gameplay. And that's true, and I do think that, you know, the earliest video games that I typically have a reasonable time playing are from the NES and other dedicated game consoles. I have a very negative opinion of home computer games. I never really enjoyed them very much. It took me a very long time to learn how to appreciate them at all. It was actually I think it was the Apple II library that started putting me on to the idea that home computer games could be good. Because so often, like, of course, I had gotten the emulators for these platforms back when I was 15, and started pouring through them, and I would just drop in games, try to play them, and I would just hate them. And I don't know, I played dozens and dozens of games for all the home computer platforms many years ago, and didn't like any of them, and just went, okay, well, I guess everything for these platforms sucks. So then a few years ago, you know, with more maturity, more knowledge, more context, and a lot more experience in general, I went back and started attacking these platforms again to try and find out, you know, I basically said to myself, they can't be that bad. I must be wrong. So I went back and started throwing myself at them again, and I started actually getting a better appreciation for what's on them. And the thing that keeps coming to mind, the word that I keep using over and over, every time that I have a folder here called interesting, which is where I've got about 55 ZX Spectrum games here right now, which are in the interesting folder because I think that they're some of the most intriguing titles I've found on the platform so far. And each one of these, pretty much, I looked at and said, oh, that's ambitious. It's always that word. I always find myself using that word because it always means it feels to me like they were trying to make something way bigger than they actually were able to, but they pulled it off. And the fascinating thing about that to me, let me load up 3D Lunatic here. So let's see. We go Kempston. Okay. So this guy here, this is another 3D shooter. It does this like oh, there we go. So check this out. This one, I haven't figured out exactly how to play this one in its entirety. But this one, check out that tilt effect that you're getting. Now, this is something that showed up in a lot of early 3D shooters. If you play, let's see, what am I thinking of here? I want to say some of the Build Engine games that got ported to consoles, I think one of the console ports of Duke Nukem 3D, and a few other like early PC FPSs like Power Slave would do this thing where when you were running and you turned, your screen would bank, just like it's doing here. When I go left, when I go right, it tilts left and right. And the thing is, what I find fascinating about that is that didn't happen on the PC, but it did happen on, for instance, the Power Slave for I think the PlayStation did this, and a number of other console FPSs in like the PlayStation era, Saturn era did this, and the occasional PC one, but not most of them. This appears to be something that everybody wanted to do with FPSs for some reason. They wanted to have banking when you turn the display. Well, the reason you don't see that on the NES, well, the NES didn't have FPSs, but it did have 3D games, vaguely 3D games. And the reason that you don't see that on there is because the way that the tile maps worked on that platform didn't really allow for arbitrary rotation like that. I mean, even if you were being pretty clever, it was really tough to rotate. Sorry, let me skip forward this music here. It was really tough to skip forward, it was really tough to rotate the display like that. Now, on the ZX Spectrum, because you were drawing every frame pixel by pixel anyway, if you had enough CPU cycles to draw the whole screen, then you had enough to draw it at any rotation angle you wanted. So, consequently, the visual effects that are getting used on here are ones that were unavailable on the NES, the Master System, any of the the mid '80s. Real game consoles were incapable of doing this effect. But here's the ZX Spectrum, sort of I don't know if it's beleaguered by anybody more than me, but basically not exactly a gaming powerhouse you'd think, but it's capable of doing this very impressive visual effect, which you wouldn't really think of this platform for. This would not be where your head would go first as far as cool pseudo 3D effects. And they didn't really become available, this particular technique, because basically every console was tile based up until the PlayStation era. This didn't really become available until 1994 for most of the world. By the way, I'm getting completely trashed in this. I was playing earlier and I was doing a lot better, but I'm trying to narrate this complicated observation on the history of game video hardware, and boy, are my arms tired. Anyway, I find the 3D effects in this extremely impressive, especially for the time, and again, I call it ambitious as a. It sounds like a backhand compliment, but it's actually one of the strongest compliments I have. The one thing that I want to see from somebody who is making a video game is that they try to make something that might possibly be beyond their capabilities. So anyway, that's 3D Lunatic. Again, so it's like a 3D sort of tank simulator sort of thing. I found a whole bunch of these. So, for instance, Houston Consultants, who also made 3D Lunatic, they did 3D Space Wars, and so this came out in '83. I cannot fully. Oh, that's right. I could not figure out the all the controls for this one. I spent a while on it. This one, I think. I can't tell if it's a space. I can't tell if it's like a starfighter simulator, or if this is supposed to be like a gun turret. I couldn't quite make it out. Certainly, I can turn around and I can murder things. I can't figure out how to move. I tried every key on the keyboard, and I could not get my speed meter to go up. So I was planning to go find the manual, but oh my god, I completely forgot that I'm wearing this godforsaken Uniqlo Star Wars shirt. That is what I'm wearing, right? I can't look down to see it because my neck is messed up. But yes, I did not wear this with the intent of showing off a whole bunch of Starfighter games, but in practice, that is what happened. Man. One of the things that's always frustrating about these 3D titles, and really a lot of action titles on the home computers, a thing that nobody really figured out until Super Mario Brothers really was how to do motion in a video game. Like a thing that was endemic to pretty much all of the British and a lot of the probably a lot of the American home computer video games. Sorry, hiccups. Is just that the motion is really floaty. It's either floaty or it's way too sharp and not damped enough. So this has really rough like spring damping on the motion. So Like, I start moving, and then I try to stop moving, and it takes that long to change directions, which of course means you spend a lot of your time just going, like, you know, screaming at a spacecraft that just passed you because it was in your sights for a moment, and if only you could stop and turn around, you could shoot it. All right, so anyway, now we move directly into the Star Wars games because we've got... Sorry, let's hear that again. Wow. Anyway, oh, I'm sorry. No, this is, I don't think this is one of the Star Warses. Maybe it is. Let's see. Kempston joystick, yes. Oh, color limited. I am sorry about your microcontroller. Okay, Scott, if you're addressing me, yes, I do stream on YouTube. Yeah, right? You know, I press play in this game and I just get to hear, "Come here, I need you." Okay, so anyway, oh yeah, this one here. So again, ambitious. We get to choose a location. So we're here and we get to choose somewhere we want to go. And gosh, I really love that color artifacting. That is delightful. Dink. When you say the original Mario Brothers games, do you mean the like the arcade ones, the pre-Super Mario Brothers ones? Because yeah, those were rough. They had like Castlevania controls. I'm trying to remember. I think this one turns into a Star Wars clone after a little bit, but I might be wrong. I think I'm thinking of a different one. Taking some concentration because I want to actually not die here, so I gotta pause my narration for a moment. Damn it. Because there's actually, if this is the one I'm thinking of, there's multiple phases to it. I just went through these games earlier, but I didn't make any, I should have taken some notes. Anyway, this is one of those things where, you know, I look at it and I'm like, well, okay, you know, I'm glad that I grew up with consoles better than, with games better than, you know, Manic Miner or Jet Set Willy, but at the same time, this isn't so bad. You know, I maybe it would get boring, but, you know, there were games I played as a kid, even NES games, that were considerably less organic than this. This one, at least, you know, the parts of it that have the affordances to be, to have good art direction, you know, the HUD, and the ships themselves do look good, and the shooting is pretty accurate. You know, I'm not taking very much damage, even though it's my second time ever playing this game. You gotta stay on top of it, but that's it. Oh, and I think, no. Okay, I don't think this is the one that I was hoping for that has multiple phases, so I'm gonna have to go find that. Yeah, the original. Yeah, it was not until the it was not until Super Mario Brothers that they worked out how to play the or how to make the physics in the Mario Brothers games acceptable. And then when we got to Super Mario Brothers, like, that became a standard for platform video game quality. Okay, this is not the one I was thinking of. We'll move on to the next one. So this is 3D Star Strike. Ah, yes. This one is the Star Wars. It's not. It's Star Wars with the serial numbers filed off. Now, I should also point out that this is not the only Star Wars knockoff that I found. I actually found 3 of them. They're not all called 3D something like I thought they were. So I don't I don't have the other ones handy. But But yeah, I just found like Star Wars after Star Wars, which isn't surprising. I think at this time Return of the Jedi was still only a couple years old. This one's pretty egregious though. Like those are definitely like TIE defenders. So not exactly an X-wing cockpit, but it's not exactly not, is it? But it gets a lot more egregious later. I am actually playing this on a 2070, but close enough. So yeah, then we get the surface run from the the Death Star fight. Whoa. And again, like it's not the quickest. It doesn't have the highest frame rate. And the thing is, I've played early 3D games for platforms like the early PC, where the low frame rate really made it unplayable. But this seems to have been tuned to a point where it's just playable enough, I feel, to not really feel like you were let down. I think it's reasonably fun and it's reasonably challenging. I don't know how far I'll get here, but earlier I got all the way to the trench run. And the HUD is readable, and oh hey, there we go. Yeah, I've played the officially licensed Star Wars vector game for the arcade, for the X68000, and for like 2 other platforms. Yes, this is definitely the worst of them. All right, so Joshua, I couldn't tell you. I might, depends on whether I don't remember if those things, did they actually make those, or were they just hypothetical? Let me find, where was the other, I swear to God, I had another, I was positive I had another Star Wars-y title here, but I guess not. Anyway, yeah, so I went through all these, there were a whole bunch of games on the PC that were called 3D this, 3D that, 3D the other thing, usually very disappointing. And I'm actually impressed because of how undisappointing many of the ones on the Spectrum are. Dave, I assume you're asking what I'm playing on. ZX Spectrum. One of the funniest things about the ZX Spectrum is exactly what you see on the screen here. That when you go to select the control inputs, you've got an incredible array of options because there was no built-in joystick interface. This didn't happen on any other platform because every other platform in existence had a built-in joystick interface. So it was simply assumed that you would have a joystick. I think for a number, don't quote me on this, but I think for a number of like Amstrad games, it actually was not a given that you would have keyboard controls available at all. I think a lot of games on the Atari 8-bit series, the Amstrad and so on, the Apple too in particular, I think actually expected that you would have a joystick. Whereas on this thing, it's like, well, you can pick so many different ways to control the keyboard, right? You've got ERIK, QSDX, NKPEN. I've never even seen a couple of these layouts before. And then the Int2 ones, that's the Interface 2, which I think that was Sinclair's own in-house joystick interface that I get the impression it wasn't used all that heavily. A lot of games don't support it. And then, of course, the Kempston, which everything's supported. The Cursor, which I think, off the top of my head, I think that was, like the later Spectrums had cursor keys. The older ones didn't. I can't remember for sure. Yeah, just incredible variety of input options. Anyway, this is actually a pretty terrible... yeah, I'm probably going to do more game streams in the future. It just was ever the focus of my channel, so I didn't do them up until now. There we go. Anyway, this is actually kind of a terrible little racer. These little top-down racers that were all over the place, starting in like the very early arcade and console era. These things go back. These things go back to like the mid-70s. They are very, 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 very old. The There's not a whole lot to them, but honestly, seeing one with this fluid an interface, like, as it does have the problem of a lot of home computer games, that everything is sort of floaty. You know, your control inputs seem to inexplicably take several seconds to register. So you most of the learning curve is learning how early you need to put control inputs in order for them to actually hit the game. And that's frustrating, no lie. But beyond that, once you learn that, like, it's not that bad. And again, it's the sort of thing where this isn't going to knock your socks off the way, I don't know, like Yoshi's Island did, 12 years later. But it's a damn sight better than I really expected, especially given the fact that, and this is something that, always plagued me, it's got smooth animation, right? That, to me, is the most important thing for a video game. If you're doing a video game that's supposed to have real-time motion and you don't have smooth animation, just go home. And that was a problem that the PC had for a lot of its history. That was a problem that the Apple II had, that some games were better with than others. Honestly, it was a problem that a lot of crappier NES games had. And besides that, just, I don't know, I have this tendency to think of the Spectrum as having a really chunky interface, but the reality is that it's actually per pixel addressed. And for games like this, where you don't have a background, so they're only redrawing, on every frame they only need to draw, what, maybe 30 pixels to make all these cars? You could get pretty good frame rates. I'm not sure if this is 60. It might be 60. I think it's more likely 30. But it's good enough. Like the interface is floaty, but I think I was just in first place there. I might be wrong. So it's not that bad. I'm also a big fan of when you get close to another car, your two cars start fighting over the color attribute. So every couple frames, it switches back and forth between their color and yours. I wonder if that's on purpose or more or less a bug. I also would love to know when this race ends. Is it a time, like... Oh, I guess there's a timer at the top. Maybe it just ends when the timer runs out, and then we get tallied by how many laps we made it? I don't know. Yeah, the as far as the question of why the color on these machines was this specific palette, what you're seeing is just red, green, blue, and they're two different brightnesses, and then the combinations of those. So you end up with a 16-color palette just based on 3x4, right? Pardon me. Sorry. Brain. But right. And off the top of my head, this has actually been an interesting question to me. I know why the PC did it that way, because it actually used a the IBM PC used that color palette because on the CGA card, which was the first color card that it had, it connected to a monitor using a interface that just was a red line, a green line, and a blue line. You could turn them on or off, and that's it. And then you could combine those, so you could make the combination of any three of those colors, conceivably, and then you just had another pin that would just make the entire screen either full bright, brighter colors or dimmer colors. But the Spectrum was initially exclusively connected to a television, and the television color was being generated by, a dedicated chip internally, I think, if I recall off the top of my head. Now, if you take a look at the NES, for instance, the NES was doing the same thing. It was outputting directly. The NES does not generate at any point a red, green, blue image. It doesn't ever make one. Instead, it outputs colors that are directly chosen out of a set of hardwired NTSC color values. Now, that was Nintendo's approach to this, and I'm not super sure why the same thing wasn't done with like the home computers. So consequently, yeah, they only both this and I think the Amstrad CPC and I think a couple other platforms only supported the 16 primary colors and combinations. I actually, to answer your question, I think just before you joined, had just said that Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy were terrible. So there's your answer. Yes, you have to mention them at some point when talking about the ZX Spectrum. But you can just say they suck and move on. So anyway, I don't know if there is a specific hardware, like technical, electronic reason that the colors for this platform and the other platforms of this sort were limited to just the primary colors and their combinations. But I get how it's stored, like on a memory level. I just don't know why they're limited to those particular colors instead of arbitrarily chosen ones. Anyway, this is another example of this is another game where they just went whole hog on the tilt effect. So you start it up and you're like maybe a little disappointed at first because like, oh man, it's just this little tiny window in the middle of the screen. But then when you make these corners, we hit these corners and we turn, and yeah, baby. Now you got to remember. So this came out in whoa. Okay, actually, okay. I didn't expect this. According to the zip file that I got this from, and I don't know if that can be trusted, but according to the zip file, this actually came out in 1991. Now, I don't know if this was a re-release or if it originally came out in 91, but either way, it came out for a machine that was from 1982 or 83. Now, somebody could check my memory here, but this resembles the Sega arcade game Hang On, I want to say, which was based on the superscalar technology, which did allow Sega to make an arcade game with these cool rotation effects, so that when you bank, it not only banks, the vehicle itself, but also banks the entire screen. That's something that, if this had been available, if this game really did come out in 91, that's kind of a bummer. But if it came out in if it really came out in 86 or something, and this is a re-release, then this must have looked amazing to someone to be able to have an image like this at home, despite the fact there's only a total of 2 colors on the screen. Sorry, 3 colors. I think the dynamic sensation that you would have gotten from that banking probably was pretty cool. But yeah, otherwise it's just a completely typical right, pole position, road rash, etc. sort of clone. All right, what else I got here? So I'm just kind of going through my interesting folder here. Actually got music from this game, if you want to call it that. I'm assuming this is some classical piece. I don't recognize it offhand. All right, anyway. Kempston. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, right. This is one of these types of games. I put this in my interesting folder, but this is one of the types of game that came out for home computers a lot, which was the incredibly infuriating die-in-one-hit sort of puzzle platformer. Was it Afterburner? I thought Hang On had it. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of games of this sort that came out for the home computer platforms, and the whole idea is just that you have to get everything pixel perfect. Everything is frame perfect. If you get anything the least bit wrong, you die. Whoops, did not mean to jump there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this was just a Spanish release or if it was from a Spanish developer. Oh, you know what? That's right. For this one, I think I'm supposed to... I remember playing this months ago when I first found it. And yep, there we go. And then I think I have to jump... I think I have to jump under this block. Nope. I have to jump over it then. also loving the sound effects, which, like, God, the character is fairly cute. The clicky sound effects will never, damn it, will never not remind me of Number Munchers. Yeah, so like there's some point in the animation as that like acid blotch drop lands on the ground. There's some point in the animation where you begin being able to walk through it, but the only way to find out when that point is trial and error. Oh, hey, Choffman. How's it going, man? Here, let's try it again. It is Philippe, you're right. Where's the instructions for this game? Philippe is standing on them. This is the sort of game that starts you out with 10 lives because you're going to lose all of them in the first room. I also love that I'm picking up like this sort of blue eye key thing, and I have no idea why. Well, that's the thing, right? A game like this shouldn't have a live system, but for some reason, European developers in particular just were incredible sadists. They just had no regard for the idea that you had a life outside of finishing their game. I just realized that when this guy is falling, he looks straight at the camera, and it has like a very strong, you know, so you're wondering how I got in this situation sort of energy. Okay, so this has Castlevania motion, so I can't jump from I can't jump up in the air and then move to the side. Oh man, if I could jump from above, that would be easier, but I can't. Can I jump from? Nope, can't jump from there. I got to look up who actually developed this. This was developed by a company called Dynamic, but it's spelled with an I. So yeah, I think that maybe this is. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining. Yeah, no problem. It's not nostalgic for me, but I'm trying my best to expand my horizons. Ah! There can't be anything nostalgic about dying this many times. Ah! Blip. Okay, yeah, I figured. Oh, no. Okay, alright. Alright, so an Academy we already saw. I have an Andy Cap game in here. What was this about? Oh, right. Oh, yeah, sorry, Paul. I was joshing. Yeah, so this thing here, this is like a weird kind of adventure game. So I guess you're Andy Cap, which, yeah, I think that's a newspaper comic guy, right? Because I ain't know who Andy Cap is. The first time I played this was several months ago, and there we go. The first time I played this was several months ago, and I remember spending a very long time in here just wandering around outside, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And basically, you encounter women and cops, and you seem to have the ability to like give them money, talk to them, punch them, and that's it. Those are your ways of interacting in the game world. And I'm trying to remember whether I think my reaction to all the cops was to punch them, but I don't remember for sure. Okay, well, good enough. You know, those details are really all I need in order to both understand and appreciate this. From the earliest 20th century, played alcoholism for laughs. I'm sold. I think kisses are actually a defense mechanism. Like, I think they're a weapon. Wait, this has a day-night cycle? It does. It's 9 a.m. So, yeah, like, there's a fairly complicated, there's a fairly complex world, where I think there's, you know, independent NPCs wandering around. Sparkling ales. Let's talk to this guy. Okay, so I guess I'm looking for my rent book. Don't know what that is. And a Giro? I don't know what that is either. No. I have to pick the action again. No. Okay. How about hello? Can he handle that one? You owe the rent. Wait a minute. Is this my landlord hanging out at the bar, or do I owe rent to the bar? Not here, Andy. Can we examine? Not carrying anything. Okay. Okay, so we've got a cop here. And I think if he catches up with me... Oh, there we go. In trouble again. Do I win? I won! Once again. In trouble again. I won. Can I talk to this guy? Hang on. I keep wondering, like, is somebody in this game going to know where my rent check is? Oh, okay. Do I have money? No. I have £9.50, so I think be gone from this game. Every game should instead of game over, can somebody, while I'm doing this, somebody go get like the Dark Souls font and Photoshop it so it says "Be gone from this game, Andy." Thanks. All right. Anyway, yeah. So Andy Cap, right? There's that. All right. Some of the raster effects on this platform are pretty wild. Like this one here. This is ostensibly from '87, and whoa, there's a Usagi Yojimbo game? I didn't know that. Huh. Anyway, all the raster effects going on here are pretty dope because those like copper bars they've got going on the side there, I'm pretty sure are violating the color pixel grid. I might be wrong about that, but I think they're using some wacky raster effects in order to achieve color resolution that high. But of course they can't do it on the rest of the screen. I'm sure the game itself won't use that trick. So Kempston, start. Oh, right, this thing. This game is so strange. I had a very hard time. I could not figure out how to get out of the first room in this game. In fact, let me see. Yep. So I've got like a jetpack, right? And I've got a weapon, and that's about it. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it, right? That's all the capabilities I have. And then we have this thing here, which is an elevator. Oh, whoa. Well, if I go into that color changing area, then it kills me. But when I played this before, it never stopped blinking, so I couldn't go through there. But now, oh, hey. Oh, no, that's right. I did get this far. I think it was this page. I think it was this screen where I couldn't figure out what to do next. Yeah, so, like, there's all sorts of weird things going on with pixels on this screen, right? Like, there's things moving, there's things that stop moving, there's that sort of corrupted junk going on over there. No idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe the manual would explain a little bit better. But, can't really interact with anything, can't shoot anything. I'd like to go in the... Wait a minute, maybe this is the entrance. See, it sure looks like I should be able to go in there, but I can't. I can even sort of stand there, but I can't go in. And I think any moment now I'm going to run out of jetpack fuel, and that's it. So yeah, like, well, it could be. Certainly, it could be. But I always sort of err on the side of like, well, what if I had the manual? I just lost a life. I think if I go in here, yep, That's some sort of like force field. Oh, and of course there's definitely nothing on the first screen here because I can't go back down this elevator. It does look very cool, and that I think is a lot of what's frustrating about it is like, I wish I knew what was going on here. Let's check real quick here. Let me pause this. This is called Anfractuous, which is already infractious. I don't know. Already a very strange and interesting name. Put this music back on. Okay, let me look up this game, and I'll find the manual. Okay, World of Spectrum probably has it. Yeah, I figured anfractious might be an actual word. What does it mean? Yeah, I was sort of noticing that, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm interested in the to-do list once I figure out how to do anything. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Pear. All right, so I'm supposed to collect 8 fuel cans, find and destroy the launch retainer switches, and blast off. That's it. So we need to collect 8 fuel cans to enable the shuttle to blast to safety. I'm guessing that this on this screen, this is the shuttle. Oh my god, okay, this is fascinating. Apparently you're supposed to not kill the enemies if you can avoid it, because they're wildlife and they're a protected species. So you actually lose score for that. Anyway, you can replenish your energy pack from power points around the mine and use lift units. But due to lack of maintenance, the equipment is starting to malfunction. Again, this is very ambitious that this person is trying to put this much life into their world. Anyway, the escape shuttle is restrained by 4 switches. You have to find and disable them, and that will start a countdown, so you have to make it back before they go up. Anyway, our controls. We can go left, right, we can go up, we can fire, pause, abort, and continue. That's it. So, there's nothing more than we've seen. This is the whole game. So, what the hell? What am I supposed to do? I've done everything I can do. You know? I just can't figure it out. What's the next step? You know, the only thing that stands out is this green blob here that kind of looks like a caricature of the man in the moon. Otherwise, I can't figure out what I could be missing. This game is from '87, which seems at once... I don't know. It seems like an odd year for it to be this strange. Let's go ahead and reload the game. Kempston. Start. If I could go left from the start, I'm going to... Oh my god! I'm getting another beer. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a quick story. So, when I was about, I don't know, 10 years old or thereabouts, my parents got Riven, the sequel to Myst. And if you've ever played it, Riven is a very, very confusing game. It's a very tough adventure game. Much of the logic of it is internal to the game itself. So, you can't really just plow into it. Like you have to like play the game and slowly come to understand what you're trying to achieve in this world, or you just won't get anywhere, because none of the things that you operate, none of the levers are labeled. You know, you can't figure out what is going on until you figured out what you're trying to accomplish, and then you can go around changing things, trying to make those things happen. So, I had Riven on 5 CDs. When I was like 10 years old, and I poured, I don't know, dozens or hundreds of hours into this game, and I could never make it past the same point. Over and over and over, I played this game from the beginning, or from a save game. I would just go at it, 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 go at it. I never could get past this one point about, I would say, 2 hours into the game. About 2 hours of exploration, I had done every single thing I could find to do, and I could not find the next thing. And I was stuck, right? After years and years and years, like 2007 or 2009, something like that, I finally thought to myself, let's go get a walkthrough for Riven. I had been refusing to do it because I'm like, well, if I can't beat it on my own terms, why even bother? But I finally said, let me go get a walkthrough for this game. So I did, and the walkthrough told me at the furthest point into the game that I had managed to get, which was the doorway to Gen's laboratory, if you know where that is, you're supposed to go, it's the frog tunnel. It's the little hallway that's got the frog at the end of it. You're supposed to go in, turn around, and close the door that you just came through, and that reveals a tunnel. And the entire game opens up after that. I've been angry about this for over 15 years at this point. I've been angry about this for over 20 years at this point. I've been angry at this since I was unable to proceed in the game. You know, I was mad about it when I was 10, when I was just like, where do I go next? This sucks. This game looks so cool, but I don't know what to do next. And then I got double mad when I found out that I had to go through the door and close it. And close the door. No other door in the game had required me to do this. There is no other door in the entire game, which I've now seen the entirety of the game. There is no other point in the entire game where you do this. This is the only time that you have to take this approach. Oh, I'm so mad about this. The color clash in this game is actually really limited. It's pretty good. Let's see what happens when we go over the earth here. All right. Oh, can't go through the earth. All right. Ah. Anyway, that's how I feel about spending however long trying to play this game and then finding out that all I had to do was to go left. Like, come on. Is that a ceiling lamp? Oh. Oh, I thought hitting the lamp was a switch, but no, that thing just does that. I have the feeling this game is actually a very complicated Simon Says, where you have to do everything in exactly the right order or you screw yourself over. Oh, I powered up. Cool. There's also a whole lot of dead ends, and I'm really liking the energy I'm getting from that. Okay, so that's a return path. As a reminder to anybody who's unaware, the music that I'm playing is not the music from the game. Games at this time almost never actually had music while you were playing them, so this is a bunch of like title screen compilations from YouTube. They are, however, ZX Spectrum music. Yeah, see, for instance, if I go through here, I'm going to get one chance, and then it's going to lock me out so I can't go back, right? So if I miss this as I go down, like I almost did right there, then I probably would have had to restart the entire game. Likewise, this might be... Now, see, this is another problem with... one of the things that's a bummer about the sort of highly ambitious games that you often find on this platform and other home computers is... It'll be like this, right? Like, do you have any idea where we are? I don't have any idea where we are. I've completely lost the thread. Now, I think a lot of that is because I'm supposed to make a map. I think I'm supposed to draw a map myself. A lot of these maze games were meant to be mazes. They were meant to be impossible to understand unless you actually acted like you were an explorer in the maze yourself and tried to draw your own map. Now, the only game I was ever able to get myself to put that much effort into was actually, of all things, Myst 3. I actually made a map and drew sketches of machines in Myst 3. By the way, that's also the only Myst I ever finished under my own power without using a walkthrough. I really liked it, too. I had a lot of fun with that. But, I guess, you know, in 87, I guess I could see myself looking at this and going, well, I guess this is worth the effort. Can't do it now. You know, can't get myself to care that much now. Especially because I know, if I put in all the effort, I'm not going to have any sort of dramatic experience. I'm just going to get, like, congratulations. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's a very old Nintendo joke, but it is kind of racist, so I should not say that. But the point is, just like, I'm just going to get congratulations, you win, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, that is the answer, right? It's just that, I guess, I don't know how to phrase this exactly. I know what I mean, but it would be just like the British to think that just having a trash can laying around was gobstoppingly funny. Oh, hey, you know what? Dead end. There it is. It had to happen. Yes, Amy, you're absolutely right. That the whole stage in Myst 3, the whole age where you have to do all those wacky puzzles, was made worth it only because you get to ride the big sphere at the end. That was so cool. Especially because Riven had the roller coasters, and then you play Myst 3 and you're like, oh, there's no roller coasters, but there's one. All right, let's move on. So, Infractuos is, in my opinion, not an amazing game. However, let's come back to that. Not an amazing game. However, like I said, very ambitious. Now that I understand what it actually is, I'm like much less interested in it. This slaps. This doesn't slap so much. This has gone from slapping to has slapped, but no longer does slap. Is Biggles actually like... Was Biggles like a big comic book hero or something? Okay. Oh, you said 40s. I'm sorry. I read 60s. Now, why did I decide that this in particular was... Oh, there's no joystick control. Oh, there we go. Oh, I think that was the demo. Okay, time to play. Oh, okay, that's why I thought this one was interesting, because it's actually got a... like, kind of reasonable playing animation. Nothing remarkable. I dropped a bomb earlier, and I'm wondering... There we go. Okay. Okay, so if you do... Oh, man. Notoriously difficult controls. I managed to drop a bomb earlier. Am I out? Yes. That's what's going on. I'm out. Okay, so if you go down, you get this, like, infiltrator game? Is that what's going on here? Oh, wow. What? What? It's just a completely different game now. Also, this has strong, what am I looking for here? Strong pitfall energy, right? I feel like there weren't really that many games that took the pitfall approach of showing you the above ground and underground at the same time. Yeah, I have grenades, but damned if I know how to use them. I should say. Is it a combo? How do I... Yeah, I do not know how to grenade. Nor do I know how to Triforce. Yeah, they're doing a lot with the limitations of the machine here, definitely. Interesting. So, I wonder if I'm supposed to grenade that pillbox. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the grenade, this is actually a fascinating piece of game design. Uh, Basically, in order to grenade, you have to stand and hold down your fire button. Your gun does not fire when you press the button; it fires when you release it. And that means that they can actually have you hold down the button to throw a grenade. This game seems really disjointed. Like, I don't know what I've done to deserve being put back into the plane this time instead of being cycled back into a random pitfall experience. Right? Also, I'm getting this very strong feeling that these are procedurally generated, so it really is very, very Pitfall. And then, like, I don't know. It seems like it's just randomly cycling me through levels. I mean, and they're not levels. They're just different sort of, I think, procedurally generated experiences, you know? So I think what it is that this game... Oh, I see. The roof is at different levels there. Okay. So I think what's going on here is that this game consists of several different, basically, mini-games. And, when you die, it just takes you to another one. And I suspect that if you successfully complete all 3 of them, then it says you won the game. Okay, there we go. I've mastered the bombing experience, although I'm out of bombs. I did at least, yeah. Here's another a guess that I'm going to make. There's no end to this. That's my speculation. Like... Yeah, the plane one's definitely a lot less fun than the other ones. And yeah, my thinking is that each one of these is probably like an endless runner sort of experience where it just continuously generates new enemies, new terrain. Because the thing is that I've loaded into the sort of Contra one several times, and every time it's a little different. Like, this is similar to the first one, but not identical. All the items are like... They're chosen from the same palette, but they're in slightly different order. Very much, you know. Again, if this is inspired by Pitfall, then it would make sense because Pitfall was also a very early procedurally generated game. No, I'm pretty sure there's slight differences. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Oh, god damn it. No, the sort of like cave thing in the lower part was in a different location the first time through. But with that said, it certainly looks like there's a limited number of different experiences. Pitfall was not technically procedurally generated because the seed was pre-programmed. But what it was doing was it had a limited number of elements, and then each screen was composed out of those elements. And the author of Pitfall just chose a... Right, it's always the same experience every time, but it's still effectively procedurally generated because if you were to change the seed, you would get just like one bite, you would get a completely different Pitfall. The guy literally, what he did is he wrote a procedural level generator, and then every time you cross from one screen into another one, it increments the seed value and continues. And then he just sat down and started making versions of the ROM with different values in the seed, and just continued doing it until he got what felt like a cohesive game. He did a talk some years ago where he was explaining this is... Yeah, David... Was it did David Crane do Pitfall? I cannot remember. Anyway, I'm going to say for a lot of reasons that I very strongly feel that this is probably, if not literally procedurally generated in the sense that it's random every time, like I can buy that it's not random every time. I'm just saying that there's a limited number of level, while there may be a limited number of levels that can be generated, I think it is starting with, like, I think it's going through the same, like, 7 or 8 different versions of these stages over and over. Anyway, Bionic Commandos. Yeah, and a Boyness Blob sucked. Not a good game, let me tell you. All right. In my heart of hearts, I really hoped that there would be music. Oh well. All right, what do we... Whoa! Oh, okay. For a minute, I thought this thing somehow had 2 joystick buttons, which would be impossible. No, I just if you press up, then you get the dingus and the hingus. Ah! A new boy. This is a surprisingly competent Bionic Commando. Now, I'm trying to remember. Bionic Commando was an arcade game first, right? I'm pretty sure. What? Get stomped. Oh, hey. Ah. Wah. What even? This actually has better controls than the NES version of Bionic Commando, which is not saying much. Danger! Army! Yeah, I'm actually wondering why it was pluralized on the splash screen. Was it pluralized in the arcade version? Where's my health? Do I have health, or have I just been very lucky? Away. No. I can't get down to get that dingus, whatever it was. Again, I'm going to give this my coveted badge of ambitious. Whoa. He can just fall forever? Oh, no. Okay. Well, anyway, that's Bionic Commando. So they got Bomb Jack on this platform. Hey, sorry, let me just ask. Is anybody an anthropomorphic Bomb Jack? Because it looks like he could be. He looks like a creature to me. I don't think this Bomb Jack is loading. Let's try again. Man, that does not look encouraging. Let's see if Bomb Jack 2 will load. Campston. Where? Oh. One thing that's irritating about the Spectrum is that in order to get keys on menus to register, you often have to hold down Shift. Where? I'm trying to remember how Bomb Jack is played. Right. Wait a minute. Hang on. How do I get up there if I can't, do I just jump from... Maybe I just jump from the middle of this platform. Yep. Oh, okay. Damn it. Thy game is over. Was it Was it Mighty Bomb Jack that went to the sort of more freeform platform approach? Is that what I'm thinking of, or am I thinking of a different series? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like this is considerably different from the Bomb Jack I'm thinking of. It's fun, don't get me wrong. Ah, there we go. Okay, yeah, Mighty Bomb Jack was the side scroller. Okay. At least I have something to stick a pin in. Oh, whoops. This is a fascinating way to do platform motion in a game. I hadn't really thought about it the last time I played this. But, really, ah! Oh, no. Wait a minute, how am I supposed to proceed here? Am I supposed to, if I can't skip off to the right from that one, am I really supposed to come off of this one? That seems really clutch. Huh. Wait a minute, what's the technique there? Let's do this again. I can probably blow through this first one pretty fast at this point. I'm a Bomb Jack expert by now. Dink, dink. Ah! You know, you'd think so, but when I press the button, he does that, but that's it. Here, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't seem to have bombs. You would think, with a name like Bomb Jack, that he would have bombs. Oh. Wait, is that a knife? Dude's just got a shiv? Where? Well, see, I thought that I collected bombs, but there don't seem to be any. Like, so this is just like gold. I thought that that thing below me would be a bomb, but he doesn't use it. So I don't know what's going on. Man, also these right, what's with the thy? Why does it have the like weird like Middle English sort of thing going on? I don't know. You got me, honestly. Okay, so that guy wrecked me immediately. Is it just, do I have to get up behind him? Is that the trick? Ah! Bad! Don't like it. I'm gonna try Bomb Jack 1 again. See if I can get it to load. Let me, well, I can't turn off fast load because we'll be here for 35 minutes. Well, that's the weird thing, though, right? Like, well, actually, I guess Elite Systems ported that, so... Oh, man, this is old as hell, right? Well, 84, it's not that old. Hello, Nathan. Nice to have you here. Thanks, everybody, by the way. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. Alright, sorry about that. Let me pause the background music here. Sorry, I was responding to a message here. Okay, so Kempston joystick. Wait, release joystick. What does that mean? There we go. Okay, so, oh, wait a minute. Oh my god. Oh, okay. So, this is not actually that was not a Bomb Jack game. That was an unrelated game which had just been reskinned. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Sorry, messages. Anyway, so this thing here is weird. So we collect keys, and we use the keys to open doors. We can only have one key at a time. So when you pick up a key, it puts the previous key you had back where it came from. So we can go through door 4 here. We can pick up the cash, the booty, if you will. There we go. And then we can pick up 7, and we can go down and open the 7 door here. And that presents a bit of a problem, because now this guy is going to come out. Oh, wait. Ah, damn it. One nice thing is if you die, it does leave the doors that you opened still open. So that's cool. I believe you can actually get that gun that I had there for a moment, and you can, in fact, use it to shoot dudes. But I have a really hard time doing it. Now, an interesting thing is that you don't need to finish the screen. You could just leave, like to share zone. Peace. Bye. Let's see. So if I use 4, I can open this door here and collect whatever that is. That was treasure. Okay, so not worth that much. Then we'll collect 6, and I think if I hustle, I could beat this. Oh, wait. I got myself in a pickle. I might be able to survive. There we go. Ah! Very close. I think this... Yeah, this took me back to the first screen. Yeah, the music just continues. Here. There you go. Did that... By the way, did that mute? I think it muted it. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Oh, shoot. Where's key 8? Where is key 8? I have key 8. Oh, okay. Whoops. Bird? Bird! I think that's a bomb in that box there, but I could be wrong. I'm going to agonizingly... oh, shoot. Wait a minute. I want to go collect that key down there at the bottom, but I'm now thinking about it. How am I going to get there and back? I need everyone to be serious with me. Did it actually make it louder? I need you to actually tell me honestly. Did it make it much louder? I hit mute. What the fuck? Is it better? Is it not as loud now? Oh, my God. Wow, you're right. Whoa! Yeah, when I hit the mute button on my keyboard, I can see it spike in OBS. What the hell? Wow! That's breathtaking. Anyway, let me go to the volume mixer here. There we go. I have solved it. No, that wasn't me doing a bit. I pressed mute. I pressed mute on my keyboard and it made the volume spike. I have no explanation for it. It's very funny. If I had done that on purpose, it would have been very funny. But I didn't. Alright, anyway. Okay. Folks, I'm going to need to start getting going here in a few minutes because I need to go cook dinner. However, did everybody have a good time? Should I do this again? Like I said earlier in the stream, there are so many things to cover. The idea of trying to do videos, on my main channel about video games is tough to. It's tough to get myself to to want to do that because there's just so many people covering video games. But as a stream, if everybody likes it, cool. Yeah, I'll probably do it again. Especially with the ZX Spectrum, because I thought I was going to... So I have a folder with about 55 games here, and I thought that I was going to pound through all of these, and instead I actually had quite a bit more to say than I expected. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, 800, I know. I was doing it on Twitch, and there wasn't that much appreciation for it. Or, sorry, that's not what I meant. No, that is what I meant, because I got like 11 viewers, 15 viewers tops over there. And over here I get like 80 plus most of the time. And so, like, I figured, you know, if I do it over here, I'm certainly gonna get more people watching. At the same time, it's not really my brand, if you will. And so I prefer to stick to. I honestly prefer to stick to stuff that's sort of more on my like straight and narrow of what I'm trying to. The message I'm trying to send, the topic I'm trying to address. There's a greater, wider topic that I'm trying to address, and I'm sort of trying to stick to it. But yeah, exactly. That's the thing. On Twitch, I had like 250 subscribers, and I would at most. That was less than that, and I mostly was trying to get people from like I was IMing people using like social media and whatnot. Over here, when I hit stream, like go live, it goes out to 26,000 people. So you know. And yeah, the VODs are great, right? The fact that if somebody wants to watch one of my past streams, they can actually do it. Yeah, and also Radioactive Kitty. I almost wonder if I know you from somewhere else, but with that name. But just so you know, I was saying earlier in the stream that I hurt my neck, and that's why I haven't been doing, why I haven't been able to make a video this week. There's other factors, but the fact that I hurt my neck means I don't know when I'm going to be able to put out another video. I really can't. I can't stand up and perform right now, so it's possible I'll just be doing. Oh, hey Dakota, hello. It's possible I'm just gonna be doing live streams like this for a little bit until I sort of figure out what's wrong with me. Maybe go to a doctor. I don't know yet. But either way, I'm glad that people like this because I was worried about, like, I know nobody's going to, like, unsubscribe and disappear if I don't post a video for a couple of weeks. I know that's not the issue, but all the same, I was starting to feel like, I haven't posted anything in, like, almost a month, you know. It just sucks, you know, and I like to be able to put up something, anything at all, and I like doing streams like this as long as nobody minds how disjointed it is. Hey, I hope nobody minds that I'm just going off on these lengthy, like, let me tell you the whole history of the ZX Spectrum as it, you know, as part of the tableau of interaction with other game consoles in 1983, desperately trying to stop stumbling over my words. As long as you like that sort of thing, then I'll do a few more of these. But yeah, there's a reason that I don't generally go for this sort of thing, sort of impromptu content on my main channel, generally speaking, outside the live streams, because, well, I don't know. I think it's a pretty disjointed mess when I speak extemporaneously about topics like this. But all right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna take off. I will catch you in the future. For all I know, I might even come back later, depending on what I'm doing tonight. I don't know yet. Have a good